Why does my boyfriend hate me so much? That question came to us from the internet, and that's a super serious topic, and it's very, very multi-layered like an onion. So we're gonna peel back a few of those layers. We can't get to all of them, but if you stick with me, we're gonna get down to the heart of why people hate folks in other relationships. Stick with me. So before we start down the road of hatred, again, very aggressive word, let's take a look at our disclaimer. I understand why my boyfriend would hate me so much. I've got to understand more about myself than others and then learn if adapting our behavior is going to be healthy for both of us. But let's start with self-awareness and take a look at this next slide. Outgoing folks and reserved folks. So when I talk about this outgoing personality style, these folks are fast-paced, involved, energetic, optimistic, positive, enthusiastic. Woo! Take the leg by the tail, just sling it around and throw it somewhere. When conflict comes along, however, though, they focus on talking things out. Hey, Alicia, how are you? Hey, can I help you? Can I help you? Hey, you good? You good? You good? You good? You good? And she wants to slap my hand away. And so if she's more a reserved person, she's going to be a little bit slower paced. Now, that doesn't mean she works slowly. That means just she's slow to act or get engaged because she wants to think things through before she speaks. So they're cautious folks, they're concerned, they're reluctant, critical thinkers, and always discerning. And when conflict comes along for them, they focus on thinking things through. Should I? Nope. But don't have all the facts yet. And that's their mentality. All right, so where are you on that scale of outgoing versus reserved? If you're outgoing, kind of remember that I'm towards the top of the screen. If you're reserved, you're more towards the bottom of the screen. We're going to divide you into people person or if you're more of a task-oriented person. People-oriented folks are all about caring and sharing and relationships and emotions and feelings and friendships. They focus on the opinions of others and how they feel. So we tend to be pretty emotional, and I am very much a people-oriented person. I'm an emotional guy. You know, I cried during the movie Frozen. Nobody does that, but I did because my daughter was there, and she's gonna have a boyfriend one day and get married. And she said, "Pull it together, Dad." Anyway, because she's more of a task-oriented person. She's all about procedure and function and forms and programs and processes and analytics. She focuses on getting things done at the end of the day. So now you're finding yourself on the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen, and you're on the left side or right side. So let's define a little bit about what each one of these quadrants mean. So we've got these outgoing, task-oriented people. We're going to call you high Ds or dominant styles. Never met a challenge you couldn't face, love to be in charge, take charge mentality. Then we've got our outgoing and people-oriented folks. Those are our inspiring styles. We're going to call you high Is. Just love influencing others, oozing charisma all the time, just like to be in around people. You're all about having fun. And then we have our supportive styles. Those are our reserved and people-oriented. Kind folks, make super friends. They're great listeners, give you the shirt off their back. They're just wonderful people and the glue of any organization. And then we have our high Cs, which are our reserved and task-oriented people. These folks are analytical. They are, think about accountants, lawyers, doctors, those kind of people who are just high-level thinkers. These people are the E.F. Hutton of the disc world. If you remember the old commercial, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. That's right, people listen. So C's don't really say a whole lot most times, but when they do, they've really thought through what they have to say, and it's usually like, oh, pretty epic in terms of the results of that. Now, we're all a unique blend of these four traits. So we all have a little bit of D, a little bit of I, a little bit of S, and a little bit of C, some in more categories than others. I'm an IS. You know, my I is really, really high, my S is really high, and then everything else kind of falls towards the bottom of the scale. Now that we understand the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the methodology, let's talk about this word hate for a minute. Again, hate's a very, very strong word. And so I would argue that if your boyfriend hates you, that's more about him than it is about you. And again, we're talking about personality types here and how folks are predisposed to one another and how conflict can occur between two just normal, sane people. This isn't factoring in, mental issues, alcohol, drugs, all those things. Those could be playing a factor here. So if that is, again, I'm not your guy for that. I'm not a psychologist. So feedback to the disclaimer on that one. Having said that, where a lot of couples get it wrong is that they don't have self-awareness. That individual piece of understanding myself and understanding, more importantly, that the world is not all like me can be a factor in that. For example, let's say that your boyfriend is a high D. High D's direct, strong-minded, determined, like to be in charge, and that's where they feel the most comfortable. So anytime that they're challenged by that, they can start to become triggered, rage out a little bit, if you will, get angry, get upset. So my wife is a CD, and so as a unique blend of that, as a D, whenever in the relationship I have an opinion that's differing from hers, we get a little Godzilla going on. And it's not that she just doesn't like me or whatever, doesn't like my opinion. It's just that normally as an S, I just sit back and go, oh, sweetheart, whatever you think, that's fine. Oh, sure, whatever, it's great. And from that point, she's happy because she gets her way, she stays in charge, she stays in that control part, which is the C part of that situation. Now, anytime I do step up, like for example, if we're going out to eat, and normally that conversation's pretty typical of me saying, hey, sweetie, where do you want to go out to eat? And she goes, well, I had to pick last time. I said, well, I don't care where we go. Well, but I always choose. And so we have this whole back and forth thing going on. And for me, it's not a matter of I don't care. It's just a matter of I don't have a preference. Because remember, S's are harmonious. We like people to get along. And so I just want her to make a decision so that we can go eat. And so she wants that control, but then she gets tired of making decisions, and you can see it just goes this endless circle back and forth. So what if you're an I-C relationship? Okay, I's like to have fun. They like to be spontaneous. That can really trigger a C. For example, if you're going on a quick weekend getaway as a high I, you like to plan it all out and just, you get the tickets. We're going to wherever. We're going to Florida, and I don't really have anything but a hotel. That's going to stress that high C out. And she's going to become like, what do you mean when I have a plan? What are we doing outside of staying places? I mean, who's taking care of the kids? Who's watching the dog? Are we going to get them to school? Is our godmother coming over to watch over the house? Are we leaving the lights on? Who's picking up the paper? All these kind of things create anxiety, and so therefore that person becomes triggered. Versus a C who's doing all that kind of stuff, and the I wants to have flexibility. And so when the I doesn't have flexibility, they feel like this, like me talking to this camera right now. Even if I walk over here, I'm still looking at that lens. I'm still anxious because I've got to maintain eye contact and be with you, my audience. And so for me, that is becoming, somewhat triggered. But of course, I do lots of these videos. So every little situation that may totally not impact you, and you're not even thinking about it when you say something or when you act a certain way, may be a very triggering factor for your significant other or spouse. So how do we avoid these behaviors? Well, it starts with self-awareness. We just covered that a minute ago. How do we get self-awareness? You need an assessment. What's an assessment? Well, Alex, these assessments are super cheap, less than $13. And what they do is they go through some questions that allow you to examine yourself. And so at the end, you get a nice document that says, here are the words that describe you. Here are some of your strengths. Here are some of your weaknesses. Here's some of the ways that you communicate that can tick somebody off. And here's some of the ways that you really work well with others. And so once you have that, there's this light that comes on that says, yes, I understand myself now. I understand why someone could potentially think ... And then the next step is having your significant other take that assessment. And once they do, then you can start creating a conversation because you'll understand each other. That's the self-awareness. Then you can begin to understand each other. That's the social awareness. And then you can adapt your behavior. And that's where the magic happens in couples. When you start adapting your behavior and meeting others where they are, then you're giving a little bit, they're giving a little bit, you're meeting in the middle, and the conversations are wonderful. They can be candid because there's a sense of respect there. So in the comments below, there will be in this description, there will be something going on down there where you can take an assessment. I'll put a link in there. I'm stuttering, but do it right now because it'll be the best thing you've ever done. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.